My name is Araceli, and I am originally from Uruguay, South America, but most of my adult life I've been in San Francisco, California. I was a designer there in fashion. I designed for Levi's, and I lived right in the city in San Francisco. My name is Araceli, and I am originally from Uruguay, South America, but most of my adult life I've been in San Francisco, California. I was a designer there in fashion. I designed for Levi's, and I lived right in the city in San Francisco. Where I live right now in Ajijic, it's completely different. In San Francisco, it was city and traffic and hills, and over here it's different. It's flat. It's very beautiful here. Although there is no humidity as in the beach, it looks very tropical, the plants and the environment. So I do love that about where I live. I chose Ajijic because I love Mexico. I've been to Mexico many times growing up, but we'd always go to beach areas and it was just extremely hot. And I always dreamt of living in Mexico, but I thought that I could never live somewhere like that. But during the pandemic, I had the opportunity to work remotely, and I thought that was my chance to explore living in Mexico. And I considered a few areas like San Miguel, Mexico City, but I settled on this area because it was close to Guadalajara, so I would get some city activities, close to the airport, and most of all, the climate. I didn't have an ocean, but I do have a large body of water here, Lake Chapala, and the climate is absolutely ideal. Where I live, I like to walk, ride my bike, do errands. I'm not the type of person who wants to be a tourist somewhere where it's just having drinks and laying around. So I wanted an actual place where I could do things, my everyday activities, and so I found this place. I had never heard of Ajijic, and an acquaintance of mine who's a flight attendant one day showed me some pictures of homes that she was considering buying, and she said that she would be moving here soon. She ended up not moving because of the whole pandemic, but it made me curious and I started looking into it, and that's when I discovered that it was at 5,000 feet elevation, that there were so many places nearby. And just even driving distance, I can get to the beach in 4.5 hours. I could get to San Miguel, Mexico City, Guanajuato driving if I want to. So I really loved the location. There are people from all over the world. I speak Spanish fluently, and that's a huge plus. Some people come here and they really don't need to speak Spanish because there's so much help. Anything that you need to do, there's somebody that can help you. There's lots of services as well, whether you're purchasing a car, lawyers, everybody speaks English. Although I would encourage people strongly to learn Spanish just to have more options. For being a small town, it's amazing everything there is. There's a theater called Lakeside Little Theater, and they do so much. There's live performances, thermal waters that you can go to. There's just a ton of things to do. And then for me, I go to Guadalajara a lot. So when I want to see museums, symphony, jazz, concerts, I love all of that. And I also love the people that I've met that are from other places. It's not just Americans and Canadians. I've met people originally from Hungary, from Russia, French. And it's people that have lived other places. They speak multiple languages, so it's really interesting. The only thing that I would say that I dislike, and this is true of most Latin American countries I've gone to, is the bureaucracy, the difficulty of doing things. Anything you do, you can be sure that it's going to take you 2 or 3 tries. You know, that means leaving, getting in your car, going home, printing out, making a new appointment. But again, that's happened to me in every other country that I've lived in. My life has changed here for the better because I do more things. I have a bike and I take my dogs with me, and I do a lot of my errands on my bike, a lot of walking. Because the weather lends itself, this is a year-round activity. Here, you can just be out all day long doing activities. A lot of people play tennis. There's another sport called pickleball that I hadn't heard of. I think the uniqueness of Mexico lies more in the people and the philosophy, the points of views. I think in the US, people, at least in cities where I come from, you know, you're really wrapped up into going to yoga or studying mindfulness and trying to live in the moment, but it's all a project, it's an activity, and people have to commute. And so then people try to do those things that I just mentioned. But here, it's the people, the lifestyle, the emphasis on time, quality time. People are very hardworking here. But family, spending time on the weekend, picnics, going to the lake, appreciating nature, and just the simple things in life that Americans are trying to get back to. Well, here it's just a way of life. So I do love that. I love just the overall look and the philosophy on life and death and enjoying every day. The talent that's here for artists, architecture, products. If you buy clothing, the embroidery, if you buy art, the sculpture, everything is great quality. It's made here. I think for adapting to Mexico, again, I'm a little bit ahead because I speak Spanish. I would study the language and then do research what's around you, find out places that you can visit, just really get informed of your surroundings. That'll also help facilitate working with local people. So to me, that would be really helpful. I think medical services here are great. I was able to get health care. I moved here, if I were in the US, I would have worked another 15 years, but this was an unexpected move due to COVID. So I was at the age where I could still get health care. So I pay every year. And now that I'm in the system, I'm in the system. The healthcare system here is top quality. I mean, world renowned. A lot of the doctors are international. Guadalajara has just excellent care. And here in Ajijic, because there is an older community, it's very equipped for all kinds of healthcare needs. And it's surprisingly inexpensive. One time I had to go to the emergency room and I was calling my insurance agent, just so nervous, freaking out, meet me here, how do we do this? Because I'm used to in the US, if you walk into an emergency room, it'll be $2,000. So I just wanted to make sure that I did the paperwork correctly. And he said, don't worry, just pay and then we'll reimburse you. And my total was $40, not $2,000. So I thought, okay, we don't need to reimburse that. But I was just scared, you know, from the US. And so overall, things like that, and also for animals, vets, my dog had surgery, and the care before surgery, anesthesia, aftercare, the whole process was about 2 months. It was $200. Whereas in the US, going to a vet to take your dog just for a checkup is $200. So it's very good and inexpensive. So when I came here, I rented a house for a month, and just to get familiar with the neighborhoods, because the homes here are so gorgeous that you'll be tempted to say, I want this one. But then you realize that this neighborhood is too far, or you know, it's just not your type of neighborhood. So it's important to come here first. But when you're ready to buy, houses sell here the same day. I'm not exaggerating. Everything I've seen sells that day. So you need to have your finances in order in the US. If you are waiting for a contingency of when my house sells, you won't get it. If your money is tied up in investments, you won't. It needs to be cash. So we bought this house in the same neighborhood that I originally came to. Coincidentally, I really love it. It's called La Floresta, and it's right in the center of town. So for me, it's great because walking, biking, it's close to everything. And yeah, when you make an offer, you wire the money and that's it. But it's extremely easy, and the real estate agencies and brokers all speak English and they walk you through it. And the myth of you can't really own property in Mexico, that's not true. There are some cases right on the water and the coast, and that's something worth looking into. But within Mexico, we own the land and the home, and there are no problems. So the process for getting a residency, you can be here as a tourist, but that means that you have to leave every 6 months. But otherwise, you become a temporary or permanent resident. Some people choose to follow the internet, Google, all the steps. I chose to work with a lawyer. I'm very self-sufficient, and I could do it by myself, but I'm very happy that I got a lawyer. In the US, when you hear lawyer, you think $600 an hour. But here, the whole process was about $300. And what he saved me was a lot more than that. But then your appointment will be in your hometown in the US. It's not here. So I had to fly to San Francisco with all of those documents, and I had my interview there to become a Mexican resident. So when I went, there was a new document that they needed, which was taxes for past years. Now, if I didn't have a lawyer, that would have meant you don't have what you need, go home. So that would have been a flight, Ubers, hotel, back home, and starting over again. So that alone would have been several $1,000s. But because I had a lawyer, we called him and he helped me get what I needed. He said, it was very fast. I mean, they told me you have 20 minutes to figure it out. But I was able to send it to him. He sent the office paperwork and I made it. So that's why I say that it's good to have a lawyer. So something very unique here is that most houses come furnished. And the reason is the size of the houses, the style is so unique. And so people furnish their homes, and when they move for a few reasons. They're either going back to their country, where you wouldn't take a 2-ton armoire back to your country, or they're downsizing, and again, the furniture wouldn't be suitable. So when you move here, if you want an empty house because you're bringing all of your belongings from the US or Canada, then you really have to specify, and when you get the house, maybe empty it, send the furniture that was there to bazaars or donate it, or just ask for it unfurnished. I started something called Negocios Mágicos, which means magical businesses, since this is a pueblo mágico. And one thing that I wanted to say is that a lot of people that I know here are very involved philanthropically, and they get involved with different organizations, whether it's orphanages. There's an organization called Niños Incapacitados that offers surgeries for children. There's so many there's over 100 nonprofit organizations in this small town. So I love that about this area. And I'm involved with a few of them. There's one called Operation Feed in San Juan Cosala, where they take food to families in need. They also have a boutique where people donate clothes, and they hang them up nicely so people can go shopping and get clothing. They get groceries. So I helped them. I did their whole website, which was a great contribution because that's what I do. And I was really happy to help. But in addition to being involved with organizations, I started my own thing, which is helping businesses that are really in need and renovating them. So I team up with volunteers that I call on. There's one lady that's an interior designer. There are people who are artists, muralists, and we don't ask for money, but we ask for help. So for example, the last project we did, there was a flower shop called La Carreta, and it was just a brown square wood, like a box basically, and the lady works from there. She does a great job, but she's going through cancer right now and treatments, and we wanted to do something to help her. So we went in and renovated it. My idea was to do a little bit of painting and enhance it, but we had a muralist, Juan Gamero, that volunteered his time, and he spent about 4 full-time days painting this, and it looks beautiful. It looks like something out of Paris. and it really gave her a boost in spirits. And so yeah, if it's things, whatever we need, whether it's murals or tiling or renovation, and we get people together and we do it. And the goal is to have the expat community find out about this business. So hopefully it'll bring them new clientele. And because we do have a little opening party and so on. So it's integrating the community. We're on Facebook, Negocios Mágicos Ajijic. And then also we have a website called negociosmagicosajijic.com, and they can contact us through there, and we'll post what their latest project is. So for example, the one this month is very small, so it'll just be painting a facade, adding tile and signage because you really needed that. And then in November, we're going to do one that's in a prime location in a corner where there's a ton of people that go there, but it's really run down and they needed help. But they work 7 days a week, so it's very hard to stop and say, we're going to spend time to renovate. So this is a place that sells seafood. So we're going to do the whole wall. We're going to make it like an underwater scene with bright colors, coral, and things like that. So I think it'll be really beautiful. So people nominate businesses, and businesses can nominate themselves. When I post, I always post in English and Spanish so that people can find out about it. And the first couple of businesses we did voting online, and the one that had the most votes and on Facebook won. Right now, we're doing a little bit on who needs it, the timeline that works, because for example, you may have a business and we have November available, but that may be a busy month for you and may not work out. So we're working on, just talking to them. And as far as requirements, we ask for the business owners to let us know what their budget is, no matter how small. Even if they have $50 to work with, we will try to get as much free product as possible. There are paint companies that help us out that donate paint, and this is where volunteers come in, because if we say, oh, we need lighting, somebody might say, oh, let me buy you, what you need. So we just ask for a budget so that they can have some ownership of the project, and we also ask them to get involved to help. So this is where they can call in their friends, families, loyal customers. So if it's a day where we have to empty out the store, to clean, to reorganize, so that they're involved as well. It's not that they go away and we do everything magically, because it's all nonprofit. So we really need all hands on deck to help out. Ajijic is particularly safe because, well, there's one main road. So in a city, it feels like if there were any crimes committed, there's a lot of options on how to get away. Here, there's one road. So it's not a place where you could be driving, 100 miles an hour or doing weird things. And then it's a good mix of people. There's a lot of Guadalajara families that live here that come part-time or on the weekend, and the expats, restaurants, there's a lot going on. So I think it's just in the best interest of everyone that things run smoothly here. I think the expat community here is very special because I think you have to be like-minded enough to be here, because you were willing to really uproot your life, leave family behind, go to a place with a new language. So that already says that it's somebody a little bit more out of the ordinary. And they come here, and at least the people that I surround myself with, they're so involved. Everybody helps out. There's so many things that go on, even with people that work for you. Everybody that I know, it's sort of a given that you help out. Your housekeepers' kids, you buy their uniforms, their books, help out, in that way as well as in organizations. So I think the expat community here is appreciated. Now, what people need to understand is, just like in any country, if you look up on Google, what is the cheapest place to live in the US? There's a few places in Texas, Indiana. What are the most expensive? San Francisco, Los Angeles coastline. So you can't assume that it's all the same. For example, in San Francisco, a studio apartment is over $3,000 a month, whereas in Texas, it would probably be $400. So here it's the same thing. All of Mexico is not inexpensive. Ajijic is beautiful, safe, the climate is wonderful, there's beautiful architecture, entertainment, all the things I talked about, so it is expensive. If you look up, average rent is from $1,500 to $2,000 a month, whereas in other places, you can get rent for $200 a month. But there's compromises. You're going to have different climate, different levels of safety, beauty. So there's something for everybody. And sometimes people from the Midwest come here and they look at houses in Ajijic and they say, that's what I could pay in the Midwest. When you own a home, a really great tip was our agent told us to get a property manager. And I thought, why? I know how to pay bills and, you know, but it was so useful because again, if you give your credit card to a utility company here and they make a mistake, it's very difficult to get your money back or to change it, and especially if you don't speak the language. Whereas a property manager, they charge you per month, but they pay all your bills. When your property taxes are due, they go downtown, they pay. HOA fees for the neighborhood, even if it's not a condo, neighborhoods have fees, they pay. If anything goes wrong, if you have a water leak in the middle of the night, anything, they have employees that work for them. So you're not calling random people that may or may not show up. They have extra keys if you get locked out. So I'm actually a part of the problem, so I can't complain because I've only been here 2 years, but Ajijic used to be a fishing village and now it's very busy and crowded. Anywhere where there's mountainside, new construction is going up. So just like anywhere else, it's good and bad because it's good for the economy, but traffic is worse, and what used to take 5 minutes now can take 20 minutes. So for people that come here, I would say to try to make as little impact as possible. Maybe, walk, ride your bike. Don't just, take up room in traffic. Maybe people retire and they think they want time off. That's fine, but go in there and see where you would fit in because that all enhances, the whole atmosphere, and it becomes helpful where you're contributing to the town. You're not just taking away. And using local artisans for furniture, for artwork, for design. I always when I buy artwork or jewelry or anything, I make sure that it's people from here, also employing local people. So I guess any of your needs, just to be sure that it stays, that it stays local. There are a lot of stores downtown and they cost a little bit more. And some people say, oh, I'm going to go to another town because if you're going to get a decoration for your house, for example, something like what's behind us, because it's cheaper there. But I think if you can get it here, it's not going to be twice as much. It'll be just a little bit more. But that way we support the stores here, because if everybody was going out to buy things wholesale at the lowest possible price, then these beautiful stores that we enjoy walking by and going in wouldn't be here. Same with food. Buy at there's a market on Wednesday where all the vendors come out. Buy your food there versus a box store. So I think doing all of those things just really help. The quality here is excellent. The food, the berry farms are right across the lake from us, the ones that go to the US. And there's wineries across the lake as well. The food here is excellent and it's inexpensive because it's local. So that's a huge advantage that we have. And then the craftsmanship, that's the thing about craftsmen here. They're so excellent. I mean, I have a friend who's an iron worker and he's about my age. And I said, how long have you been doing this? And he said, 40 years. I was like, what? That's not possible. And he said, oh, I started when I was 8 because, we're working with his father. And I can give him any project to do and he'll make it happen. Same with woodwork or just anything, sculptures, you name it, tile work. Just people here, it's a lot of it is family tradition and it's generations, so they really know a lot. It's not like they went to college to study it. This is something they grew up with. So whether it's embroideries, weaving, anything like that, it's exceptional. I am extremely happy. Being from Uruguay, I considered moving there, but it just wasn't possible. It's so far to get to and so expensive. I felt like none of my friends would ever be able to visit me there. I mean, a regular economy class ticket is $1,800 at least, and it's a good 16 hours to get there. So here I have friends in the US that work in different careers that are busy, but they can come here, leave on a Thursday night, be here in 3 hours, be here Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and leave. And it's affordable to fly. So I love that about it. And just for me, being able to be in touch with Latin people, all the music, performances, just things like that. And I have more than half of my friends live here, but they're from Guadalajara or other cities. So for me, I'm really happy to be able to have that again. And also because I grew up in the States, I'm very Americanized. So this is perfect. So out of a horrible situation, which was the pandemic, this resulted for me, which is a highlight. I think a lot of people changed up their lives completely with that. And we have options now, working remotely like I do. And I would say explore Mexico, live, if you have the time, 3 to 6 months in different cities, because everything is not for everybody. I'm a city person. I thought this would be way too slow for me. But again, I have Guadalajara and I could just go there for the day. So it works out. But definitely explore before you buy anything. And study the language and study a little bit of basic history and politics. You don't have to be involved in that, but just to know what's going on, I think that's really beneficial. And just in making new friends and conversation. Again, there's some that isolate themselves to only American friends and just going to restaurants and margaritas and all of that. That's fine. But I just think it would be a much richer experience if you take advantage of everything that this area or any area that you end up in has to offer. So I want to thank you for having me. My name is Araceli and my project is called Negocios Mágicos, and you can search for it on Facebook under my name or negociosmagicos.com. So it's been a pleasure being here. Thank you.